Well, Reiza have just dropped their first of two Formula-focused updates for Automobilista 2. Introduced in this update is the Formula Edge and Formula Hybrid Gen 1 class, which is based on the 2014 to 2016 F1 generation car. As always though, before we go any further with this video, if you find yourself enjoying it at any point, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this and support the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I would be incredibly grateful. And just like all of the Formula cars in Automobilista 2, this is absolutely fantastic. One of the best in my opinion, if not the very best that Automobilista 2 has to offer. The physics on this thing feel absolutely amazing, and when you combine that with the G-Wiz custom force feedback file, it's such a pleasure to drive. Once I'd seen that the update had come out, I absolutely could not wait to jump in and give this thing a go, so naturally the obvious place to test it out was a couple of laps around Spa against the AI, and boy oh boy, it did not disappoint. Like I said, if you combine this with your favourite custom force feedback file, you can feel all of the movement from the chassis, the tyre, you can feel the aero working, you feel the boost as soon as you open the DRS. It translates everything that the car is doing into your hands so nicely. In my opinion, Formula cars is where AMS2 really shines, and this is no exception to that rule. I mean, the modelling on the car is just so incredibly detailed, even down to things like if you lock up a front tyre, the flat spot on the front is very visible, and you can really feel it through the force feedback. The detailing on the steering wheel is unbelievable with all of the different stickers and buttons, and the LCD display again is absolutely fantastic. And not to forget about the sound either, because the sound of this thing is also really good. Now unfortunately, obviously the liveries are not licensed, so we do have these fictitious ones which they still look absolutely great. And I have to say that some of the placeholder names that they've used, obviously because they can't use real world names other than one, some of them are genuinely quite humorous. I'm sure that for those people who've been watching Formula 1 for quite a long time, will be able to swap out the real names with the ones on the standings, and if you can recognise any then, drop them in the comments below. But I'm sure in not too long we'll have a mod for the 2014, 15 and 16 version of all these liveries, given that that is the car that this is based on. Hopefully, as these updates continue to come out throughout the year, we're able to get a couple more tracks that are part of the current and prior Formula 1 seasons. Even though there are a few that are already in the game, it would be nice to have some of the other ones such as Dubai, maybe the Hungaroring, Shanghai, Malaysia, Singapore, all these different Formula 1 tracks that have been used throughout the years. It would be great to have those in the game to be able to run custom offline championships and just relive some of those prior F1 seasons. I mean, obviously I've only named a couple there are a whole lot more, but if we were to go through them all one by one, we would be here for an eternity. It does seem quite silly to say that one thing we need in Automobilista 2 is more tracks, because there are already a lot of tracks in the game, and there are a lot of really great, unique, different tracks from South America that you wouldn't get anywhere else. However, there aren't too many typical or popular, mainstream, whatever you want to call it, tracks that you would get in a lot of other sims. You know, there seems to be quite a lot missing. Now obviously, in true Reiza fashion, this wasn't the only thing that they gave us. They gave us an awful lot more in this update, like they always do. And seeing as though this update was first of two Formula focused updates, the second change was around the Formula V12 class, which has been rebranded slightly, so now it has three different versions or classes within it. So there's a V12, a V10 and a V8, and that is models 1, 2, 3 respectively. I haven't tried them, but I would imagine if they're anything like this, they will be absolutely amazing. And then there's also been a further revision to the physics for a long list of cars, from LMDH through to the GT cars, so that includes all GT3s, GT4s, etc. Obviously you'll have to read the patch notes for yourself to understand exactly what's being changed. I had a quick test of the Gen 2 GT3 cars, and again, it didn't feel overwhelmingly different to how it did before, but it just felt like another step forward in terms of the connection with the road. It does state in the patch note, to be fair, that these are just revisions rather than fundamental changes, which is basically everything that's been happening since 1.6 anyway. Hopefully we will continue to see more of this, because I definitely think that with each of these updates that we get in terms of the GT3 handling in particular, it does seem to move them more in line with what you might experience in a couple of the other sims out there. There's one thing that I didn't mention that I'm sure you will have noticed at various points throughout this video so far, but that's the changes that they've made to the tyre smoke, and it just looks a whole lot more realistic than it did before. And something that's even more obvious and in your face, which I still haven't mentioned, is the new tachometer widget, which is in the bottom right hand corner. Definitely an improvement over the previous one, and it's another step forward in terms of the updates that they're making to the HUD system. And then on top of all of these various different things, there was just the usual general improvements that are typically involved in these patches anyway. I didn't go through all of the points, so it would definitely be worth your time to go and read them for yourself, just so you know exactly what's been changed in this update. But it's definitely a really good step forward, and I'm excited to see what 1.7 brings for us. However, one thing that I wasn't overly impressed with in this particular race was the way the AI performed, and it was just a very strange experience in some parts of the track. They seem to be very slow in certain braking zones, but then on straights they just seem to rocket away in an uncatchable manner, which just didn't feel particularly realistic. So I'm not sure if there's something that's potentially gone wrong in one of these updates along the way, but their performance just doesn't seem to be as fantastic, at least not with this generation of Formula car. It is highly likely that we'll continue to see more improvements to the AI performance in future updates anyway, but it was just something that really stood out to me in this race, and just something that I wanted to point out to anyone who's watching. So all in all, 1.6.9.5 is just another really fantastic update from Reiza, like all of the updates that have come before. Really excited to see what they do throughout the rest of the year. Definitely excited to see exactly what's going to come as we move towards 1.7. Obviously we've got another Formula patch to come before that, so I think that's from the sort of 2008 era of Formula car. I could be wrong, but time will tell. And what makes this update even more amazing is that the new cars are completely free for the base game owners, so another positive. I've definitely said this in a previous video, but 2026 is going to be a huge year for AMS2, and I really can't wait to see all of the things that they bring us, especially the career mode. Hopefully a lot of people were able to pick this up for 50% off in the previous Steam sale, so it was just an absolute bargain price. I am a firm believer that everybody should have this in their library because it's just such a fun and immersive sim, and also it's just really great value for money. But as always, I really hope that you found this video useful and enjoyed it. If you did, please consider giving it a like, because that really helps me out, and if you want to see more videos like this and support the channel, do consider hitting the subscribe button. I would really appreciate that. But until the next time, enjoy the rest of this race, and I will catch you in the next one.